All rise for the Honorable Judge B. Jesus.
Hello. Thank you everyone for attending Insect Court today. We have here our bee prosecutors and a human beekeeper who we will have on trial today. The hive is now in session. The bee crisis affects and will affect everyone on this planet. According to the article Colony Collapse Disorder and Its Impact on the Economy from Kimberly Amano on April 30th, 2018, accessed May 2nd, 2018, the European Union has already voted to ban the neonicotinoids put on plants that affect bees and other insects. Our prosecutors have done much research on the bee crisis. They're very passionate about it. I am bejesus, so my credibility is transparent. Our beekeeper, Sean, today has done extensive research on the bees he keeps imprisoned. The bee crisis is an issue everyone should care about. Each of us have a footprint in the honey. So you may ask, what's all the buzz about? We will discuss the problem, cause, and solution of the bee crisis today and decide if he is guilty or not guilty. Our first prosecutor today is B. Petia. You may begin.
Your Honor, I would like to begin by explaining what a bee is and what it does. According to Canada Agriculture and Food Museum, accessed on May 2nd, a bee is a flying insect that collects nectar and pollen. It is said that there are possibly 20,000 species of bees that have many differences. Some can make honey, some don't. Some sting, some don't. Now that I've talked about bees, I would like to talk about pesticide. According to Ronnie Dengler, who has a doctorate in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, in the article Neonicotinoids, Pesticides Are Slowly Killing Bees, written in June 2017, she talks about a study done by Amro Zayad, who is a biologist, and his study was done with chemical use from neonicotinoid trees near the Canadian cornfield. He found out that the neonicotinoids spreads into the water, travels for miles, and infects mostly the pollen from plants. He found out also that this chemical weakens the defense systems of bees and also reduces their survival chances. In a hive, a sick bee is usually kicked out to protect the rest. But because of this chemical, they stay inside and infect more and more bees, especially their queen bee. And once the queen bee leaves, there are no more eggs and no more future bees. He also found out two other chemicals, herbicides and fungicides, that if mixed with the neonicotinoids, will kill the same amount of bees with half as much of the chemicals. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, B. Petia. Moving on to our beekeeper, Sean, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm extremely honored to be here today. All this time I was thinking, to be or not to be. And then I came to the conclusion, maybe I should. So here I am defending my case. First of all, I would like to say that these bees have nothing to worry about. There is much work being done to protect our bees. According to Berks and Schuylkill Beekeepers Association, Access May 6, 2018, the bee is kept into mind when acquiring honey from specially designed hives that are placed next to orchards and gardens. And this is so that the bees can easily access the nectar from all the flowers. And it wouldn't make sense if we farmers herded these bees, because we rely so much on these bees for pollinating our crops. Furthermore, I would like to say that, as I mentioned, specially designed hives, one such example is the flow hive. This hive is specially designed so that the honey can be accessed from a faucet that can be filled into a jar, and there is no pesticides involved, no smoke, the bee stays healthy, and it only costs $250 to about $300 on eBay. And it is very reasonable considering all the pain and the agony that is alleviated. Furthermore, according to Orkins.com, access May 6, 2018, bees do not consume all the honey that they acquire. They rely primarily on the nectar that they take from all the blossoms and flowers, and they rely primarily on the royal jelly that nursing bees produce that they use to feed the larvae, the queen, and also the working bees. And also, according to Orkins.com, honey is a digested and regurgitated material derived from nectar, which is infused with digestive enzymes, which is basically vomit. Only in this case, this vomit is very, very sweet. So what harm does it do if we beekeepers, we acquire some of the portion that these bees are never going to use? So a classic example of one man's trash, or in this case, a bee's trash, is another man's treasure. Thank you.
Good input, Sean. Moving on to our third prosecutor, B. Jessica. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to explain to you how bees are important and what would happen if we don't have them anymore. For starters, you can forget about the honey. So forget about those honey on Cheerios because you're not going to have them anymore. The world would lose many products that bees provide, such as chapstick, lotion, medicine, shampoos, candles, and much more. Another major change would be the stop of pollination from bees. According to an article from Decisions PR News that I accessed on May 5 of 2018, 1 of every 3 bites of our food comes from plants pollinated by honeybees and other pollinators. Yet, major declines in bee population threatens the ability of many fresh ingredients consumers rely on for their dinner tables. Your Honor, here I have a picture of how the produce would look like without bees. So we would be losing apples, cucumbers, avocados, mangoes, carrots, and much more. Honeybees do 18 to 15 billion in work for American farmers each year. With the decrease of produce, we will see an inflation in prices. You can even end up paying up to $16 for an apple.
Thank you, B. Jessica. Moving on to our last prosecutor, B. Trevor.
Now, Sean, I can understand that this is a lot of information to take in. You may not know how to go about it. You may even think that there's not really anything that we can do. But the good news is that there are ways to combat this. Allow me to share them. These, of course, are all coming from SOSbees.org, which I accessed on the 6th of May. The first thing that we can do is eliminate the use and exposure to pesticides. Now, pesticides are obviously made with the intent to kill pests. Bees are usually not a part of that, but if we use the pesticides not strategically enough, or if we use them too frequently, they can actually seep into the water, or they can get blown away by the wind, and they can affect some kinds of the flowers. The bees go to them, they pollinate, they bring the infected pollen back to the hive, and before you know it, the bees will start to die out. I'm not saying that we should phase out the use of them completely, but if we can at least learn to use them more strategically, then that would be for the better. We can also improve bee habitat conservation. Such organizations are already in existence, but if we can improve their abundance or their efficiency, then that would, of course, also be good as well. We can also promote ecological farming. This is a technique that by its design, although you would have to know, and for the sake of time in the courts, it protects the soil, the water, and the climate, as well as promotes biodiversity and does not contaminate the air with chemical inputs. I definitely think that it's worth a shot. You can definitely read more about that on SOSbees.org. Finally, we can increase the diversity and abundance of the flowers that are currently available. Greater quantity of the flowers and more kinds of them have been shown that it allows for a greater chance for bees to survive and to repopulate. So what I'm trying to say is that if you were to follow all these steps, I'm not saying that it would completely eradicate the problem, but it would definitely be an improvement than what it is now.
Thank you for all your input today. Sean, would you like to say anything before I decide your fate?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Apart from all of us acting bewitched, I feel what a sinful man I am. To summarize today's court procession, we looked at how pesticides affect bees. I presented the friendly technology being used to acquire honey. We discussed the socioeconomic factors of hurting bees, and we discussed the solutions to solve the crisis. After today's proceeding, I feel like a sinful man and feel like I am in deep honey.
I appreciate your view has changed, but I'm still going to have to deem you guilty. Your sentence is going to be death in a slow vat of honey. Thank you everyone for coming to Insight Court today. Case closed.